Tell me, why do you want to join the civil services? You're working in the Qualcomm, getting a very handsome salary.
Yes,
why do you want to compromise on less salary in the civil services?
why do we have a large diaspora in ASEAN countries?
So tell me something about the city and also its social fabric.
Can you tell us whether some relation exists between the El Nino events and the adverse weather phenomena?
When was this island territory ceded to Sri Lanka?
May I come in, sir?
Yes, come in.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
ma'am. Good morning,
Please be
sir.
seated. Please give a brief introduction about yourself.
Yes, sir. So I am Banna Venkatesh. I am from Srikakulam district of Andhra Pradesh. I am from village background and my parents are into agriculture. I have done my graduation from NIT Trichy in electronics and communication engineering. I graduated in 2019. After that, I worked as a chip design engineer in Qualcomm for more than 2 years. After that, I have resigned and started preparing for civil services. This is my second attempt and first interviews.
Tell me, why do you want to join the civil services? You're working in the Qualcomm, getting a very handsome salary.
Yes, sir.
Why do you want to compromise on less salary in the civil services?
Sir, I am passionate about civil services because civil services as a career will give me diverse opportunities and growth in this sector. And I am also very much satisfied if I can get to work close to the people. If I can solve their problems, I will be more satisfied.
Explain to us why you have chosen IAS as your first preference. Why not any other service?
Sir, IAS as a career gives me diverse opportunities, sir. At the start of the career, I will get to work close to the people at the grassroots level. And as I go up the ladder, I will get to use this experience, and in policy making, this will help me.
Do you think that is the only IAS who can solve all problems of the country?
No, sir, I don't think so. IAS is one of the civil services who play an active part in the administration and policy making. Other than this, all the other services also have their own utility, and all these services together will contribute to the socio-economic growth of the countries.
Okay, you have studied electronics and all. So, why this semiconductor has become an issue of discussion in the country?
So, semiconductors play a strategic role in particular every sector that we operate today, right from agriculture towards defense industry. We have a lot of dependence on semiconductors, and the demand is going to increase in the future times. That is why government also prioritized this sector, and it came up with National Semiconductor Mission. So as to establish an end-to-end system in the country, right from designing to fabrication, we have to establish the whole supply chain in the market so that our import dependency will reduce and it will add to our security as well.
What are the issues in having a semiconductor, your global hub in the country?
In the semiconductor chain today, we are very good in the design front. We have very good human resources, but we do not have a fabrication ecosystem in the country. Because fabrication requires a lot of capital, establishing a single plant requires billions of dollars in investment. And at the same time, we are also depending on imports for a lot of our raw materials, right from silicon wafers. We are depending on China for our imports. And also, this is highly technology intensive, and it requires continuous upgradation, particularly the fabrication plants. So these challenges are coming in the way of establishing a robust system in the country, but we are realizing the importance, and we are moving forward to partner with the private sector to establish the system in the countries.
Another important problem the country is grappling is with regard to e-waste.
Yes.
So, how to go about it? As an engineer, try to find out a solution?
We are rapidly progressing towards this EV ecosystem because of the commitments we have towards meeting our global targets. But rapid adaptation are bottled by certain challenges today. Particularly, the battery systems are not very efficient, and we cannot go long distances using the present battery setup. And also, we have certain bottlenecks in the infrastructure as well. We do not have a robust charging infrastructure across the country, so that it will limit the adoption. And also, there are certain safety concerns as well associated with these batteries, particularly there are incidents where the certain batteries are exploded and it is causing safety issues to the public as well. So I think these challenges are to be addressed so that we can rapidly transition towards these electric vehicles which can decarbonize the transport sectors.
Okay, one final question from my side. What are the key features of Indian space policy 2023?
Sir, the major objective is to encourage more private players in the space ecosystem. Currently, the space research and all is concentrated by ISRO, and we want to establish the private ecosystem so that today the space we capture around 2% of the global market, and our target is to increase it to $40 billion by within the next 5 years. So establishing robust private sector is one of the priorities, and also ISRO wants to spin off some of its technologies like the launch vehicle systems and all to private sector so that it can focus on core missions like Mangalyaan mission, solar missions and all. So that is one key objective, and also largely it want to attract the innovation and investments so that as a robust sector we
Can
progress.
you see any security concerns also with respect to our space policy?
There are certain security challenges, particularly with involvement of private sector, but I think we as a country towards we have to progress in this sector, and we have to frame a robust regulatory framework so that private sector can aid in the government missions towards creating this robust system.
Oh, thank you.
Venkatesh, we have large number of persons from eastern India, that is from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, in South Asian countries.
Yes.
Can you tell us which country is having the largest concentration of Indian persons amongst ASEAN members?
Sir, I do not have the numbers, but I think Singapore has large population of Indian diaspora, particularly from the southern states. And other than Singapore, in Malaysia, we have very good diaspora. And recently in Cambodia and Thailand also our diaspora is increasing.
Why do we have a large diaspora in ASEAN countries? Is there some history?
Sir, largely ASEAN country has civilizational ties with India from the historical point of view. We have our cultural ties, particularly Buddhism in the Asia, which is one factor. And also we have trade ties with the ASEAN as well, particularly in the medieval and during the Chola times as well. So we are strongly building upon these relations, and since it is proximity to our southern states and the eastern states, so most of the people are migrating to ASEAN in search of better opportunities. So I could think of these reasons.
Do you think this lookist policy which adopted in 91 and activist policy since 2014 is bringing some extra advantage to Indian economy and society?
Yes, sir. We as a government, we have realized the importance of ASEAN, particularly for our people-to-people ties as well as growth of trade. So we have devised this lookist policy and activist policy to leverage upon the relations and promote robust economic growth between these two countries. Because ASEAN as a whole, it is a very good market opportunity for India as well. So we have to establish strong relations with these countries.
What is approximate share of ASEAN in our foreign trade? Export and import, roughly?
Sir, I do not have that much, but I assume it's around 7 to 8%.
And which country in among ASEAN is the biggest trading partner of India?
So to my knowledge, I think it is Singapore in my understanding, because we got a lot of FDI from Singapore as well.
But Singapore is a very small populated country.
Yes, sir, but
they cannot consume a huge amount of goods from us.
Yes, sir.
What is, by the way, population of Singapore and the total area? Is it as big as Madras city or Hyderabad city or smaller?
Sorry, sir, I'm not.
No idea. Okay. Recently, we have some controversy in our relationship with Myanmar. What exactly is the issue?
So, particularly in Myanmar, the democratic government is toppled by the junta, and currently military establishment is ruling in Myanmar. And largely military is facing a lot of problems with the local revolutionary groups, and that is leading to mass exodus of people from Myanmar. Particularly since we share a large border with Myanmar, we have a problem of illegal migration. And also, giving our security concerns, we have decided to end the free regime movement with Myanmar. Particularly, we wanted to fence our borders to stop this illegal migration and associated challenges like drug trafficking, etc. So these things will come into relation will disturb the relation between the countries, and I think we have to engage fruitfully with the establishment in Myanmar in addressing these issues.
So, what is the opinion of the government of Myanmar, the military government? Are they amused with our policy or they are upset?
Sir, I do not have specific answer to that because I am not aware of that, but I think it will going to disturb people to people ties between these two countries, because we do have a lot of ethnicity relations between the people, and as a whole this has to be sorted out by sitting together and discussion and coming to amicable solutions.
Do you think that our relations with our immediate neighboring country is going good, whether it is Pakistan, Nepal, Myanmar?
Sir, largely we wanted to establish peace relations between our neighborhood countries, because neighborhood is our first priority, but in the recent times we have certain challenges that are faced by certain challenges with our neighboring countries, particularly the present government in Maldives is taking certain measures which are not very conducive towards growing of relations between the countries. It is going more towards China, which is a challenging concern for us. And also in Sri Lanka, China is engaging actively with this country. It is investing a lot in their infrastructure and they are increasing their footprint in the Indian Ocean region. That is one concern for us in the.
So don't you think smart persons and intelligent persons like you must go in the foreign service so as to improve our bargaining position in these countries rather than letting China have a better bargaining position there?
I think today we have robust human power resources in our Ministry of External Affairs, and they are.
So why we are faltering against China? Why Chinese are able to outsmart us?
Sir, China is not completely dominating in our country, but they have certain
not
advantages.
In our country, in Maldives, in Sri Lanka, in Myanmar, in Nepal.
Sir, I think it is because of the advantages that China has, particularly in the financial and military front. They are way ahead of India in terms of GDP. They are financially very strong, and through Belt and Road Initiative, they are investing billions of dollars in infrastructure in these countries. So through economic leverage, they are trying to win the trust of these countries, and also they are building their presence.
Thank you, Venkatesh.
Venkatesh, you are from Srikakulam, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me something about the city and also its social fabric.
Ma'am, Srikakulam is the northernmost district of Andhra Pradesh. So it is the least urbanized district in the Andhra Pradesh. We have around 16% urban population, and most of the people live in rural areas and they depend on agriculture for their livelihoods. And mostly Srikakulam is one of the districts having a very good positive sex ratio. We have more than 1015 per every 1000 male as per 2011 census. And also Srikakulam as a whole is highly hospitable district. People are very hardworking and they are very hospitable and they are very hardworking. And Srikakulam has rich cultural heritage as well. We have very good important Hindu and Buddhist sites are there in Srikakulam. So it has also got a huge biodiversity as well. So overall Srikakulam is an excellent district in Andhra.
Okay. What do you understand by farmers' distress?
Ma'am, farmers' distress has multiple dimensions. For example, the recent changes in the climate change, it is going to affect their productivity. So declining yields is one of the challenges that farmers are facing due to temperature rises. And also largely input costs are rising, which is facing a toll on farmers' production. And also due to vagaries of climate, like due to droughts and due to floods, particularly they are facing a lot of challenges in post-harvest operations. Since I come from my village, I can see the challenges that the farmers face, particularly once they harvest their produce. Due to lack of good storage facilities, they have to do distress sale of the produce because of lack of these opportunities. So input side costs are rising and they do not get remunerative prices for their produce. I think these factors are adding to the distress of farmers.
So what is the way out, and what is the way out for predicting the vagaries of natural calamities?
I think technology can be leveraged. Particularly we have very good weather forecasting system. We have ISRO is there. So through satellite monitoring and application of big data as well. So we can have the record of past events, the floods, cyclones, etc. so that we can predict the future up to a certain extent, so that measures can be taken so that losses can be minimized. And also technology can be leveraged to increase the input productivity as well, particularly application of IoT in agriculture has lot of benefits for the farmers, from reducing input costs through smart irrigation, smart fertilizer application. So yields can also be improved. So this can play a major role.
What are Miyawaki forests? It is again very much in news. Do you think that it is suitable for climate like India or the kind of topography we have here in India?
Miyawaki forests are particularly growing high dense forests in urban areas so as to increase the green cover.
Is it possible to grow forest anywhere?
India
does forest just only mean that growing green trees, growing big and long trees, or it entails many other things?
Since India has varied topography and climatic conditions, I think we have to take regional approach in applying this Miyawaki method to increase the green cover as well as other benefits. So particularly in the plains and the coastal regions, we can approach this method. It also adds to the aesthetics of urban areas as well, and addresses the issues like temperature rise and
have you heard of Campa Act, Campa funds?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
It is a compulsory afforestation management fund, particularly where forests are divested. They have to pay a certain amount to this fund so that reforestation can happen at an alternate place. It is designed to reduce the effects of deforestation for infrastructure and development activities, and balance the loss of forest cover by planting by reforestation somewhere else.
Okay, my final question to you: why are red sandal woods are in news, and why are under threat?
Red sandals are particular species which are grown specifically in the districts of Andhra Pradesh, particularly in the Seshachalam region. They have high demand and market across the East Asian countries like Japan and China. So because of this demand, they are very much prone to smuggling. Particularly in these regions, a lot of illegal felling of trees are happening. So that is loss to biodiversity, as well as it is running organized crime in these regions. So government has identified these issues, and they are taking certain measures to curb this issue by encouraging private plantations of these red sanders, so that burden on the natural forest will be decreased, and it can also be a remunerative option for farmers as well. In a legal way, they can cultivate and earn income as well.
Okay. Thank you, Venkatesh.
Venkatesh, entire South India is staring at a water crisis right now. The reservoir water level in almost all reservoirs are below the sufficient level mark. Can you suggest us some of the improvement measures?
So this crisis is triggered by vagaries of climate. Particularly, we have deficit rainfall, particularly in the last season, that is contributing to this issue. I think we can take certain measures which can address this issue. One thing is efficient water usage across the landscape. Particularly in urban areas, we face this challenge in a intense way, particularly in the cities like Bengaluru. So efficient water usage is one thing where we can promote circular use of water. Treated water can be utilized for purposes that are not for drinking, so that water use will be minimized. And industry also as a whole can apply such practices where treated water will be utilized for their needs instead of fresh water, so that burden on the people will be reduced. And in the long term, we have to take sustainable water harvesting as well as a measure. We have to address the deforestation issues across the riverfront, which is particularly in the basin areas.
Fine. As a student of geography, can you tell us whether some relation exists between the El Nino events and the adverse weather phenomena?
Yes, sir. Sir, El Nino is a weather condition where Eastern Pacific Ocean will get warmer when compared to the waters in the Western Pacific Ocean. So it has a phenomena. It leads to increased drought-like conditions in Indian subcontinent. It leads to failure of monsoon, so that we will face water challenge at a more intense level. So El Nino, we have drought-like conditions in India, and it will lead to heavy rainfall in countries like South America. So it has varied impacts across the world.
Fine. Recently, the ex-governor of RBI, Raghuram Rajan, has raised some of his concern about India being so, India's GDP or India's economic growth is being so hyped, right? What are exactly his concerns?
Sir, I haven't read particularly his statements.
So, just from your general kind of understanding, can you tell us whether India's too much focus on economic growth, is it just a hype or real case of scenario? Or is there any structural problem that need to be settled before we keep on talking about the high GDP numbers?
Sir, GDP numbers is one of the indicators of economic growth. We are growing at a 7 to 8% rate, and we are also the fifth largest economy in the world. But economic growth is not going to address all the problems, because in India particularly we are facing situation like jobless growth, where the economic growth is not providing equivalent number of jobs. Particularly we are a populous country, and our youth has to be provided with employment opportunities as well, because in the latest employment report by ILO, it said that 83% of our youth are unemployed, contributing to the unemployment numbers in the country. So this joblessness has to be addressed, and the growth is also should be equitable. Particularly we have a lot of income inequalities in the country. As per the latest reports, only top 1% occupy 26% of national income.
Fine. Ukrainian External Affairs Minister has been in India, right? Can you tell us the role that India can play in stopping or at least making this war-like situation slightly a better kind of situation?
Sir, I think given the positive relations India has with Western countries as well as Russia, India can be a player in bringing these countries towards stable and ensuring that dialogue and diplomacy can be the way forward in addressing this crisis. So India can be a player, but I think it is largely the willingness of these countries to cooperate which will decide the future course of actions.
Right. My last question is that you love playing cricket. You love watching cricket also.
Yes.
Can you tell us a phenomena in terms of cricket viewership? Changing phenomena of cricket viewership in last 10 years that you have observed. Any kind of significant observation? How the viewership is changing in last 10 years as far as cricket is concerned?
Sir, in my observation, there is a lot of craze and popularity for shorter formats in cricket, particularly the leagues, T20 leagues and private T20 leagues.
So that is one.
And there is some trend observed particularly in the last 3-4 years, I would say. Particularly there is also renewed craze for test cricket as a whole, because ICC has introduced World Test Championship in order to promote the popularity of test cricket, and it is also gaining popularity in these days.
Any kind of gender-wise inclusivity in terms of viewership?
Yes, sir. I think BCCI has done a lot of initiatives to promote women cricket as well. They have introduced pay parity in cricket. Both male and women players will get equal remuneration of match fees. And also due to the introduction of Women Premier League as well, a lot of viewership is for women's cricket as well, and people are supporting the
right. Fine. Thank you, Venkatesh.
Venkatesh, the island of Kachchatheevu has again gained attention in the recent times. So what is the issue involved?
So Kachchatheevu is an island in the Indian Ocean region, particularly between India and Sri Lanka. Earlier, Indian fishermen used to fish on this island, and as part of agreements between India and Sri Lanka, this has gone to Sri Lanka. So it is one point of contestation between local fishermen, this particularly. So we were denied certain fishing rights and other rights in this region.
When was this island territory ceded to Sri Lanka?
Sir, I do not remember the exact year, but in the 70s.
Okay, it was in 1974. Okay, so as a consequence of this cession of this territory to Sri Lanka, what are the economic disadvantages on India's part?
So first thing, our local fishermen lost the rights of fishing in this particular island. So that is going to affect the local communities and our income as well. And now, since it is part of Sri Lanka, there is also going to be changes in the exclusive economic zone in this particular region, since Sri Lanka will have greater waters, particularly in this short space between India and Sri Lanka. That is going to alter this economic zone, and we are lose certain rights of the sea as well.
Okay. Venkatesh, can you also tell us what are the constitutional provisions with regards to cession of any territory by India to a foreign nation?
Articles 1 to 4, there are certain agreements about incorporation of territory or secession of territory, but I do not have.
Are you sure provisions related to secession are also there?
Provisions related to incorporation is there, but I am not sure about secession.
Okay, no problem. As summers are approaching, the threat of forest fires will also grow up.
Yes.
So, can you tell us what are the reasons for these forest fires in India?
Sir, in my understanding, there are a couple of reasons for these forest fires. First thing, I mean, it is natural as well as artificial made. In the natural reasons, we have increasing temperatures, particularly as part of this climate change. So, that is leading to loss of moisture across in these forests, and these forests are prone to these forest fires. Second thing, our monocultivation practices are also one of the factors, particularly in Uttarakhand. These pine plantations which we are raising, they are more susceptible to forest fires, and certain disasters, intentional or unintentional, are happening, and these are contributing to forest fires.
Which parts of the country, particularly which states, are more vulnerable to the events of forest fires?
Sir, it is northern belt in the Himalayan region like Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand.
And parts from the southern part of the country? Specifically Andhra Pradesh?
I do not have a data, but particularly in the dry deciduous regions, it is prone to forest fires.
Okay. So, what steps have been taken to control these events by the state machinery or the union government machinery?
Multiple initiatives are taken. First thing, usage of technology, particularly drone surveillance, can be applied to understand the extent of these forest fires, and necessary interventions can be made. Secondly, encouraging diverse plantations instead of monocropping can be one solution to address these issues. And also, forest department actively involves with the local communities to delineate the regions which are susceptible to forest fires and take measures like cleaning of undergrowth, which are particularly help fueling these forest fires, and certain boundary zones can be created to spread the.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Talking about the earthquakes, tell me how magnitude of an earthquake is different from intensity of the earthquake.
Sir, magnitude of the earthquake is measured by Richter scale. It talks about the amplitude of the seismic wave, particularly, that is measured on this scale, whereas intensity of earthquake is measured based on the destructive potential of the earthquake, based on the amount of damage it causes to property and livelihoods.
Now, what is the scale used there?
Mercalli scale.
And have you heard about this focus of the earthquake concept?
Yes, sir. So, focus is the point inside the earth crust where the earthquakes get originated, and from this focus, the waves move towards the surface. It is the epicenter point, and once it comes to the surface, the surface waves are responsible for most of the destruction.
Okay, thank you, Banna. Your interview is over. You may go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. May I come in, sir?
Come in. Sit down, Banna. Your interview is on 5th itself.
Yes, sir.
Which attempt is this, Banna?
This is my second attempt and first interview appearance.
Second attempt and first interview. How was your experience today with us?
So it was good, sir. I am able to give decent answers to most of the questions. But in the initial stage, I was a bit nervous because I just came in and I was called into the room.
Yeah. I mean, you are an excellent candidate, let me tell you, at the very outset. A wonderful candidate to talk to, and you got us engaged on variety of issues.
Yes.
And your opinion, your presentation, everything was excellent.
Thank you, sir.
One thing which is negative in your personality was while talking, half the time you kept on tapping your legs. Leg tapping we could see from here. So either it was trembling or tapping or whatever it is. But it makes sure that your legs or hands are not moved. That is very important. because whatever good work you do, whatever good engagement we have in the by way of conversation, that gets distracted when you look at you as a person. Just that much, nothing. I don't know whether it is your habit or out of sheer nervousness.
I mean, it didn't happen earlier, maybe.
I couldn't notice it, but we could notice it from here. That half the time you kept on, initial 10-15 minutes,
Yes.
you kept on tapping. I don't know whether what was the reason and all that, but make sure that doesn't happen. And
Yes.
the thing is that you could not even notice that. So make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes.
That's the only thing. Otherwise, an excellent candidate. You are basically an engineer, did your electronics and communication. Some questions related to your growth of electronic industry in our country, because you are coming from Andhra Pradesh, so it's all the more important, the service sector, what the government of India has been doing to ensure the growth of electronic sector in our country, industry in our country, and what our incentives have been given by the, you spoke about the DLI and PLI and all that, so clusters and all, you should be fully aware. In that context only, we discussed a few areas, and you are found quite well informed on those areas.
Thank you, sir.
That will be one. Communication is another area. So apart from your problems in the telecom sector and all that, that you should be fully aware, which you must be knowing also. There is a Telecom Act also of 2023. Go through that. What is the controversy involved? Why some people feel that this is curtailing the freedom of liberty and expression and all that. So look at that. And there is an IT Act also of 2023, which has also been amended, isn't it? So now some parties are making accusations against the government, why it has been done in a haste and all that. So just read about it. You should be at least aware of it, and you should be able to explain it in a most balanced manner. Because it's the personality test, not the knowledge test, as I say. If you don't know certain things, doesn't matter. But you should not be speaking anything without knowing. So personal integrity is very important. Personal honesty is very important. Ensure that it is never ever compromised while talking to the board, isn't
Yes.
it? It doesn't matter if you don't know, say no. Instead of hazarding a guess and getting into a trouble. So that is one thing. You are a student of geography. We tried to ask you questions on geography, and your answers were very balanced and all that. Read about the monsoon forecast made by the IMD for the year 2024, about the impact of El Nino we discussed and all that. What is the impact of El Nino? What is the impact of La Nina and all that? What are those concepts, and from where these concepts have come? Why you are using words like El Nino, La Nina and all that, and triple La Nina effect and all, those general questions, and about the earthquakes, about your time zones. They are very general basic questions which a student of geography should be able to explain. So such questions could be asked, and it may so happen that whatever questions we have asked you today, you won't be getting any of these questions when you go for the interview, but that doesn't matter. What matters is your sincerity, your effort, your present way of presentation. So your communication skill is excellent. You could communicate your ideas very effectively, very clearly and confidently. That is really very good in you. Your opinion was balanced on the issues which we discussed with you. You had a very logical and clear exposition also. So that is very, very important. And your interest and knowledge in current affairs was also up to the mark.
Thank you.
Nothing to worry about. You're a good personality, wonderful person. You will be getting good marks in the interview. It all depends on how you have done in your mains. But let me assure you that interview is not going to let you down. Interview, you will be getting good marks, no doubt about it.
Thank you.
Only make sure no compromise on your ethical values, no compromise with your honesty, and very balanced views. After weighing pros and cons of alternatives, be a patient listener, try to understand intent of the question, and try to give very balanced answers.
Yes.
Just leave it to the God. We'll take care. Okay.
Thank you.
All the best to you. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.